Hello and welcome all my Ninjazilla warriors and newcomers to the channel. I am Roy at Ninjazilla90 and today I will be reviewing and giving you guys my thoughts and opinions and recommendations on the Hyperkin Scout Super Nintendo or SNES controller, which is a new third-party controller for your Super Nintendo or Super Nintendo systems, or that would be Super Famicom if you live in Japan. And yeah, I got some things to say about it, so yeah, let's get started. And now, taking a closer look at the Hyperkin Scout Super Nintendo controller. As you can see, this is a very premium looking controller, and by far it is exactly how it looks. It is indeed a premium Super Nintendo controller. This does not feel cheap by any means necessary. The material and the button contacts inside are all made out of really good quality material, as well as the motherboard. Of course, you can see the motherboard of the controller inside of mine because I chose the translucent black. They also come in different color schemes. You can get one that's a little bit more reminiscent to the original color scheme of the Super Nintendo controller. There's also like a translucent red you can also get, and I believe there's also like a sort of like a summer beach sort of colorization you can get as well. It's kind of like a turquoise. The summer beach is kind of like a turquoise, like bluish green sort of. But anyway, turning it around, you can see we have the Hyperkin label right there, and we also have the classic, our signature Hyperkin design. It's kind of like this line pattern at the top of the controller where you can feel it. And also taking a look at it, other than the controller being a really cool translucent black, the buttons are also very glossy. They shine a lot, but they are very tactile. They feel very good to press, and is also very responsive. Kind of have a little clickiness to them. And the D-pad is also really good, although it feels a little bit different than the original D-pad we are all used to on the original Super Nintendo controller, but it is very responsive and it is very usable. So I have no room to complain there. And of course, we do have really good L and R shoulder buttons, and they are very clicky, tactile, and responsive as well. My thoughts on this controller is relatively positive. And of course, we do have the plug to plug it into your Super Nintendo or Super Nintendo system. And of course, I'm more than sure this would also work on emulators with adapters and stuff. And yes, they do have USB and also wireless variants of this controller as well. So if you are into like controllers that connect directly via USB, or you just prefer wireless connectivity, there is, like I said, wireless variants and USB variants of this controller, but this is made more for your like original Super Nintendo or Super Nintendo system, but you can use it on your gaming PC through an adapter. And of course, brought out one of my old original Super Nintendo controllers for comparison. Now, the only thing I had to change out on this controller over the years is the start and select buttons, because yeah, those wore down and just became unresponsive, but they work with these new start and select buttons. But Anyway, one of the main differences is the D-pad on the original Super Nintendo controller feels a lot looser, I would say. This one just feels a little slightly more stiffer, but it's not terrible. It's not that bad. It just takes some getting used to, but it is still responsive, and like I said, this still does feel like a very premium controller overall. And also, one of the biggest differences is your face buttons do kind of have slightly a different texture to them, but it's not bad. They just kind of feel a little bit more solid on the Hyperkin Scout, where they still feel good on the original Super Nintendo controller. They just feel a little bit more, yeah, more clickier on the Hyperkin Scout. And another thing to take note, like I said, they do Hyperkin does make us the Scout in this colorization. However, the only big difference is the Super Nintendo, like the Super Nintendo light gray colorization for the Hyperkin Scout controllers. If you want the ones that's more reminiscent to the originals, the only big difference is you don't have this big gray circle going around the face buttons on that one. It's just gonna be like all this like one solid color. So I'm just letting you know ahead of time. But anyway, another difference I almost forgot to point out is the start and select do feel. I think the start and select buttons, if I look at them on the Hyperkin Scout, or just could be like the difference in the way the controllers are designed, does look slightly smaller, but they are very responsive. But anyway, I'm going to demonstrate how this controller works with some gameplay. So I'm going to bring this over and connect it to my Hyperkin Retron 3. I do have an original Super Nintendo. Do have a working original Super Nintendo, but I got my Hyperkin Retron 3 connected just to, save on plug-in outlets that I'll have had, so I don't have to have as many consoles all connected at the same time. But anyway, I'm going to go connect this to that and going to fire up my SD to SNES so I can show you how this actually works and how it responds with certain games. So let's get to it. And now hopping over to my Hyperkin Retron 3. And yes, I am using the Hyperkin Scout Super Nintendo controller just to demonstrate to you guys how functional this controller actually is. And of course, I will be running, what you see right here is a controller test. So I'm going to get that started to demonstrate to you guys how responsive this controller is. And I'm going to do my best to keep the controller on screen without blocking the screen, just to demonstrate responsiveness. And I took too long. So yeah, this is to test how responsive your controllers are. So we got up, left, down, right. We have up and left, down and left, down and right, up and right. Select, start, X, Y, B, A. Of course, L and R. And yeah, it passed the responsive test. So this is a good controller. Now let's start a game. Let's go to Street Fighter Alpha 2. This controller works very well with multiple games, but I'm going to demonstrate on Street Fighter Alpha 2. Now, unfortunately, I do not have an original copy of this game, but I do have the ROM on my SD to SNES. Basically, what an SNES is, it's basically it's a premium high quality EverDrive for your Super Nintendo. What it does, it allows you to run ROMs on your original console, or in this case, a clone console. And yes, like I did mention, I do have an original Super Nintendo. I'm just using one of my 3-in-1 consoles, like I said, just to save space on having multiple consoles connected. Okay, I'm going to lower the difficulty so I can really demonstrate the responsiveness with this controller without having my opponent counter me too much. So I'm just demonstrating that this controller is very responsive going through the character menu, and I'm going to go with my main Street Fighter character that I play with the most, Ryu here. And I guess we're going to be going up against Zangief, the Russian wrestler. So one round down. See, I can easily do my Shoryuken on both sides. Of course, hit him with the Super Hadouken. And yeah, match over. Now, of course, I can play this on a higher difficulty. Like I said, I just turned the difficulty down, so I can just demonstrate the sheer responsiveness of this controller. And of course, well, sometimes I gotta hit reset multiple times. Let's go to a different game. Let's play some Super Punch Out real quick. So continue. Yeah, that's my old profile name. Gabby J.
Gabby J.
Now, just to take note, this was actually the first Punch-Out game that I played. Yeah, I didn't play like the original Punch-Out on NES, so like way later.
One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. Fight! One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, 8, 9.
Well, he's down for a count. Guess we're gonna have to call his mom.
Take the cake.
Well, I actually landed a new record, although that's not my best record. Yeah, my best record, I beat him in like 15.13 seconds. And of course, let's fire up some Super Mario Kart. Test this controller out with some Super Mario Kart. Let's see who. I'm gonna go with my usual character on this game. I'm gonna let you guys guess who's my usual character. Can you guess? Yep. Now, for the original Mario Kart, you're going to be accelerating with B, and you can jump with your shoulder buttons. So, L and R jumps. And to like fire off your weapons and stuff that you get, or in this case, I got coins, you press A. So, yeah, that's not input lag. I'm just I'm just sliding around. Yeah, just not paying very much attention because I'm talking too much, but don't worry. Because like I said, I shouldn't have any input lag because I have this connected via AV cables to my VCR. Then I have my VCR connected to my TV through a coaxial cable, which I know it's not the prettiest signal in the world, but yeah, as long as you're using analog signals and you're not going through HDMI, the good thing about that is you don't ever have to worry about any input lag with anything ever. Well, especially with these older games. But anyway, yeah, finished in first, which is good. And let's test it out with one more game. Let's go with the original Mortal Kombat for Super Nintendo, or aka in this case, the original Mortal Kombat 1, because yeah, there's two Mortal Kombat 1s now. As confusing as that sounds. Confusing naming. And they could have just kept the story the same for New Mortal Kombat 1 and just called it Mortal Kombat 12, which would have made more sense, but yeah. I still think Injustice 3 is still like way overdue. But anyway, let's get started. Yeah. Although, needless to say, the graphics on the Super Nintendo version is a little bit better than the Sega Genesis version of the original Mortal Kombat. But however, due to Nintendo, yeah, they stripped out a lot of the blood and made a lot of the fatalities less brutal. So, yeah, it kind of almost feels like a watered down version compared to the arcade version. But it would have been nice if they would have included a blood code with the Super Nintendo version like they did with the Genesis version. But unfortunately, that's not the case. And this, yeah, I do have an original copy, by the way. And Super Punch-Out as well. Let's see if I can get the finisher correct. Sometimes it's harder to do finishers on these older games. So, yeah, I'm not going to beat myself up for that. But anyway, let's get back to my desk to give you guys my final thoughts and opinions on this controller. So, let's get to it. And now for my final thoughts and opinions on the Hyperkin Scout new third-party Super Nintendo controller. If I have to give this controller a final score on quality and functionality, I have to give this controller a definite 10 out of 10 because the overall build quality of this controller is really good. The functionality is also really good. Like I said, this is a really good, high quality, premium controller. If you want to get your very own Hyperkin Scout Super Nintendo controller, the link will be in the description. You can grab these from Amazon for $14.99 plus tax and shipping, which is a very fair price in my opinion. These are some of the very best third-party Super Nintendo controllers you can possibly get your hands on. Matter of fact, I would even consider this the #1 alternative option over the original. I'm not gonna say that these are 100% better than the original. That's just left up to personal preference by that point. But far as my personal experience with these controllers, I can tell you this is a definite good option to consider, especially if you are looking to replace your old worn down original Super Nintendo controllers, or if you just need some more Super Nintendo controllers for more people to play Super Nintendo with, or like you just need a second controller. This is definitely a good option, and it's also a really good option for a Player One controller as well. So, well worth picking up. Like I said, these come in multiple different color schemes. I think the translucent black is pretty cool. But anyway, guys, that pretty much concludes it for this review. And yeah, as you guys have been informed, my recommendation on the Hyperkin Scout Super Nintendo controller is very high. But yeah. But anyway, wrapping it all up, thank you guys all so much for watching. Your viewership is much appreciated. I hope this video was very informative to people out there looking for a replacement Super Nintendo controller, or just a secondary Super Nintendo controller if they only have one controller. But regardless of that, thank you guys all so much for watching. Your viewership is much appreciated. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. And most of all, stay safe, take care, God bless, stay positive, stay powered up, and peace out.